young girl, but not lived.
It's devastating. I think it's just inhumane.
It's horrific, especially coming across the street from a school. I mean, it's just sad.
It makes me scared to even be around here. Like I'm just sick.
New York City native Deasia Johnson, born February 28, 2000, was by all accounts of those who knew her a beautiful spirit. She was a hard-working, self-sufficient young woman, working at the Macy's department store so she can pay her own rent and her own bills, take care of herself, make sure all of her ducks are aligned. She had a warm, loving aura, and she was just full of life. And according to her auntie, Deasia was working towards graduating school because she wanted to be a teacher. Helping students was something that she had a passion for. It's where her heart lied. And on or about Sunday, August 21st of this year, 2022, after a long shift, 22-year-old Deasia had come home from work, but she was never seen coming back out of her apartment. And a month passes by. It's Wednesday, September 21st, and Deasia's aunt becomes concerned that she hadn't heard from her niece for a little while. Not only her aunt, but Deasia's neighbors were also concerned. You see, those who were feeling weary about the absence of Deasia's presence had every right to be skeptical because Deasia was involved with a young man by the name of Justin Williams. According to Deasia's neighbors, Justin was Deasia's ex-boyfriend who was very, very abusive towards her. She actually had an active restraining order against him due to the volatility that she was experiencing in that relationship. In fact, the residency that Deasia lived in was a subsidized housing program called Housing Plus. Housing Plus is an organization in New York City where they provide rental assistance for women who are victims of domestic violence, women who live with mental health challenges, women who are veterans, women who struggle with substance abuse, and women who are coming home from the penitentiary. So, being that the residency is primarily for women who need protection, the building does come equipped with around-the-clock paid security from an outside agency. Now, Deasia's auntie, being worried about her niece, made a call to the building security and asked them if they could please do a wellness check on Deasia, being that the security was also very much privy to her relationship with Justin. Security did as asked, and they went and they knocked on Deasia's door. However, they were met by two men at her apartment door who actually told the security to go away. And sure enough, one of those men was Deasia's ex, Justin Williams. And again, the security did as they were asked, and they left the apartment without asking any further questions or calling the authorities to assist them in the wellness check. However, security had received another call later that same evening, this time by the neighbors. The neighbors were complaining about a terribly foul smell that was lingering in the hallways of the 6th floor, and they weren't sure where it was coming from. So security went to the 6th floor and followed the horrendous stench, which led them back to Deasia's door. Security went into her apartment, this time at 315 Linwood Street in the Cypress Hills, East New York neighborhood of Brooklyn, New York, and they made the dreadful, bloody discovery of Deasia's dismembered body that was stuffed into 2 suitcases. Deasia's body had been hacked into pieces, sitting in that apartment to rot, to the point where the odor seeped out into the hallway and smothered the entire floor, creeping into the neighbors' homes. After the discovery, security called the police. Deasia's neighbors said the harrowing crime scene looked like something straight out of a horror film, with pints and pints of blood all over the apartment, looking like what could be described as a vicious massacre. Now, Deasia's relatives and neighbors expressed that they feel the building's security are largely responsible for Deasia's demise because allegedly the security knew that Justin was not supposed to come near Deasia, let alone be allowed into the building, and they allowed him to come in anyway, when they absolutely had the authority to deny him access. It is widely believed that security dropped the ball here. Medical examiners say there were multiple stab wounds to parts of her body, apparently 5 stab wounds to her torso and 4 stab wounds to her back, which I'm assuming took place before the dismemberment. And police are still seeking to speak to 1 man and 5 women between the ages of 18 and 30 who were seen on the surveillance leaving the apartment that Deasia was found in. Now, I don't know at what point all of these people entered her apartment, and I don't know at what point they all left after the incident. I don't know what role they played. Police actually, at the time that I'm recording this, they're still trying to figure out who these people are. Information from media sources states that this wasn't the first time Justin disregarded the order of protection against him. Apparently, back in March of this year, he allegedly showed up at her place to pick up his belongings. Her neighbors told investigators and news reporters that they witnessed Justin beat on Deasia several times, leaving her with visible bruises, and they even had to call the police sometimes when the fighting became too much. Well, as of Monday, November 7th, 24-year-old Justin Williams was charged with Deasia's demise, being charged with 1 count of concealment of a human corpse and 1 count of second-degree murder. He is currently being held without bail, and his next court date is on January 25th, 2023. Now, Justin had been detained in early October for an unrelated case for jumping bail and grand larceny, so at that point the police had kept him for questioning in regards to Deasia's case, but he was officially charged in November.
Say anything?
24-year-old Justin Williams was silent Monday as detectives walked him out of the NYPD's 75th Precinct Station House. He's charged with murdering his girlfriend and then dismembering her body inside her Linwood Avenue apartment in East New York, Brooklyn. Police say 22-year-old Deasia Johnson came home to her apartment from work on August 21st and never left. Williams of Harlem is accused of fatally stabbing his girlfriend several times before he stuffed her body parts inside 2 suitcases. A month passed before neighbors called police on September 21st after they noticed a foul smell coming from her apartment. Investigators confirmed the couple had an extensive history of domestic violence.
She was quiet. She went to work every day in the morning.
Olivia says Deasia Johnson was one of many domestic violence victims living in the building, where the social services provider Housing Plus offers supportive housing services. Olivia says the victims she knows say they often feel trapped by the rules and policies within the criminal justice system.
You have to stay here no matter what. And yeah, we have security, but if you walk down the block and you get into it with the guy you have a domestic violence situation with, he could punch you in the face and nothing is gonna happen because you still live here. And she also had an order protection, and he was still able to come into the building.
Brooklyn DA Eric Gonzalez released a statement on the case which reads, quote, "While we can't erase the tragic and cruel death of Deasia Johnson, we are fully committed to bringing this defendant to justice. I hope that this prosecution brings a measure of solace to Deasia's family and friends." Williams is being held in custody. He's not due back in court until January. He'll be held until then.
Now, familia, during my research for this case, I stumbled upon some very disturbing details concerning Justin, and I want you to allow these details to paint a picture in your mind about the kind of soulless individual this young man really is. Now, I told you guys earlier how the stench of the apartment was so bad due to all the blood and death that was soaked up into those apartment walls. Well, Justin had been living in the apartment with Deasia's dismembered, decaying body for the entire month that no one had heard from her. Every single day during that month, he was living, sleeping, breathing, using the bathroom, and who knows what else in that apartment. And he also gave Deasia's EBT card to his current girlfriend so that, you know, she could go food shopping and stuff. If you don't know what an EBT card is, EBT stands for Electronic Benefit Transfer. It's a federal issued card that's used by recipients who receive the SNAP benefits. SNAP benefits, also known as food stamps. Only if you qualify, though, to receive them. And with your EBT card, you can purchase fresh groceries from any supermarket, farmer's market, or store that accepts EBT. It can also be used as your health insurance card if your health insurance is the government issued Medicaid. But anyways, furthermore, also one of her neighbors, whose name is Stephanie Harris, told reporters that Justin had broken down Deaja's door to gain access into her home, and at that time he beat her so badly that he had broken her legs and her ribs, and he just continuously beat her over the course of 2 years of their relationship. Now, as more information about this story develops in terms of his sentencing and any information that may come about concerning the individual seen on surveillance, I'll be sure to keep you guys updated, familia. Now, if you're in the New York City area and you have any information about those 6 other individuals who were seen on surveillance, please call the New York Police Department's Crime Stoppers hotline at 1-800-577-TIPS. That's 1-800-577-8477. You can remain absolutely anonymous, and you can also submit information by directly sending a message on Twitter to the NYPD. Their Twitter page is at NYPD-TIPS. Familia, this is another tragic tale of a fallen victim to domestic violence. Deaja did all she could to keep Justin away from her, even moving into a residence specifically for women who needed extra support. She sought out help from law enforcement by putting in the order of protection. She kept herself busy by going to school and going to work. And yet, the monster, Justin Williams, was still able to take her away from her loved ones so unfairly. I think the only thing Deaja could have done differently was leave the state, because Justin was determined to control her, hurt her, and claim her life. Justin has no regard for any human life, and this is demonstrated in his behavior throughout their relationship. He broke Deaja's bones while she was alive and eventually chopped her up to pieces, and then went on to live in that apartment with her body stuffed in 2 different suitcases while the smell of death engulfed that entire floor. If that's not diabolical, then I don't know what is. On the screen, I've placed a screenshot of the National Domestic Violence website, and I'm also placing the National Domestic Violence hotline and SMS on the screen. SMS for texts, and I'll be linking everything in the description part of this video in terms of the domestic violence resources. Now, I did reach out to a friend of Deaja's as well as one of her neighbors, but they hadn't responded, and that's probably because they didn't see it. So if any of Deaja's loved ones sees this video, please feel free to reach out to me personally or in the comments to give more details about, who Deaja was as a person. I would love to be able to add more of her characteristics to speak to who she was while she was still here on earth. In the meantime, I'd like to take a moment to send an enormous amount of love, condolences, and healing energy to all of Deaja's loved ones. She didn't deserve to be taken out in such a brutal way. She was only 22 years young with tons of life ahead of her. A beautiful young woman who will never ever be forgotten. Rest in heavenly peace, Miss Deaja Johnson.